She is the former president and CEO of Victoria's Secret and Neiman Marcus Direct, Sharen Jester Turney. Sharen is a retail executive with more than 30 years of experience growing world-class brands and launching e-commerce businesses across department, luxury, and specialty concepts for Fortune 500 companies. She spent 16 years with Victoria's Secret brand, and prior to that, 10 years with the luxury powerhouse brand Neiman Marcus. But I will let Sharen take this introduction one step further. Sharen, thank you so much for being here, and I will let you take it away.
Well, thank you, and I am so delighted to be here today. And of course, timing is everything. I had to have a little bit of mouth surgery, so I really don't sound like myself, but bear with me, and I hope the message really comes through. And thank you, Kara, and all the team for making this happen. A lot is happening these days, so I'll dig right in with some opening remarks about leadership, resilience, and humanity in this new era. Then let's talk through your questions. I always tell people that the financial tsunami in 2008 was the worst of times, but it also led to the best of times. It taught us business leaders to always prepare for a worst case scenario to the extent possible, to be agile, frugal, and fast. And it was so important just to get to the worst case scenario so you know what you're dealing with, and you can also get to your trigger dates for decisions. It's much easier to ramp up than down. Then you have a plan. I think one of the most important things for leaders to do today is to gather the smartest people around with a clean sheet of paper to think about how to best win in present conditions. That time and money will be well invested. I know that businesses, as we know it, and how we operate today will never be the same. What is needed now is leadership that is guided by gratitude and for the long term. Looking at a dynamic situation with an innovation mindset, not a fear, is the difference maker. We must be conscious creators. Change takes courage, and we must lead through change. The whole world has been thrust into looking at things differently. New days, new ways. It is a complete transformational time. My hope is that even through heartbreaks, we thrive for our future generations. This current pandemic may be the catalyst to change our long view. To manage through the extreme dynamics, you have to have the right mindset. Confidence in that you can figure out how your business has to change with the right people and right operational model. No matter what industry you are in, your hand is forced to assess your entire organizational footprint and business model. During a crisis, you have an opportunity to critically review everything with fresh eyes, including inventory management, product development to consumer delivery time frame, customer relationships, talent, organizational access, and technology. The goal is not only survive the crisis, but to emerge stronger, leaner, and better. No two crises are the same, but the significant difference during this time is the unknown and the impact on every country and every person in the world. It is impossible to predict the behavior and repercussions from the consumer going forward. Nonetheless, there are similar patterns during times of crisis. I remember the days vividly following the Lehman Brothers collapse, when we experienced sudden and lasting double-digit sales drops across the globe. Back then, it felt as if the whole world was falling apart. Only in retrospect did the 2008 calamity seem somewhat predictable, and I expect something similar will happen when we reflect on the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. As important as it is to be more personable, empathetic, and transparent in these times, constituents will still look for the leader to be the rock. Resilience is of the utmost importance now. Many of us have managed through business challenges, but this is a whole new era. This time it's taking 100% of your mind, body, and spirit to chart an original path forward. So what are some proven processes that work in challenging times? Maniacal focus must be directed on the management of talent partners and customers. The emotional toll is extending to everyone you know and don't know. Business just moved into a very personal zone. The phrase, "It's just business, don't take it personally," can't be used anymore. As business leaders, we need to be more compassionate and thoughtful about the parameters facing our workforce. Working from home and defining what that looks like is essential. What are the expectations? We don't know what each individual situation is with our talent. We need to be flexible to keep performance at the right levels. People want to contribute. It makes them feel good. I'm thinking about what it is and what is not happening with our children going back to school. Parents want adult supervision and educational guidance for their children while they are working. How is all this going to happen so that people feel supported? As leaders, we need to stay aware to adapt, and it's shining a brighter light on company values. People want to know who they are doing business with because how they spend their time and money is under their new scrutiny. They care at never before seen levels about how a company is impacting the world, people, and planet. And this time, it is also shining a brighter light on existing kinks in companies that could lead to its demise versus its rise if not addressed quickly. You hear it all the time. Focus on the things you can control. But there is so much more to think about in our universe right now. And the whole world is watching. How you treat each other, work with each other. How are you helping? And just as important, how are you not helping? Consider this. Companies and people have been classified into essential and non-essential categories. Well, how does that change your thinking? Am I working for a company that is non-essential? Or am I considered non-essential? How does that make you feel? There is a fear factor in the non-essential category. It creates uncertainty. Am I going to have a job? Is the business going to close down? Collaboration and communication have been taken to new heights for survival and hopefully even further to thrive together. Not only in your own business, but across industries. Those collaborative relationships will help companies in every sense of the word. The ability to keep employees, keep finances in check, and strengthen customer relationships all at the same time of operationally adapting to a fast-paced decision process and adopting a different way of doing business. The world is embracing technology even more, and this is just not new. Access is something that needs to be worked on to increase the scope of equality. Still, the ease of use and the connectivity to be creative storytellers is imperative for success internally and externally. Magic plus operational excellence is the price of entrance. It may feel very transactional now, but those that can still create the magic of exceptional customer experience and execute operationally will have a better chance of winning. Both the business and user-generated content allows us to build deeper relationships with consumer. If you have not placed more emphasis on content than search, you are behind. From an omni-channel perspective, in my view, if you haven't figured that out by now, you will be left behind. There are some businesses that propelled themselves forward before COVID, and those that are trying to figure it out amid COVID. It's just going to come at a much slower pace. We've seen this train moving for a long time. Some businesses use changes in the market as an excuse for failings, but the best recognize the opportunity in forced transformations and, importantly, make them happen. Those who are not doing well pre-COVID will make it nearly impossible for them to survive both during and post-COVID. It's time to embrace complexity. We always talk about simplify, 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 but today it's going to be complex because you're moving so much faster. You have to implement things differently, meaning, for example, with technology, you need to have options. Backup plans to the backup plans. And I'm not saying create complexity, but don't run from it. And what I feel strongly about is humanity always matters. The way you conduct your business, the values you set to guide you have never been more critical. How you treat your associates, partners, investors, customers will change what you can do together. You are always better together. If it were not for the attention on these aspects in business, the road to success would sure be a lot more complicated. I think about some of the manufacturers that we partnered with over the decades and how we changed their lives by creating secure jobs in an ethical environment for the long term. How we helped each other be better because we cared fully with our hearts. People care about what is happening and how companies are reacting. They are watching companies with a sharp lens to ensure that profits are not over people, that companies are better protecting the environment. And how are you sharing what you're doing? Your messaging has to align with your company values first. People have so much going on that you run the risk of disengagement if your communication is not resonating with your brand and ultimately with your customer. I think it's essential that the messaging is informative, transparent, easy, and available in all owned and non-owned platforms that align with your business. Also, customers appreciate companies celebrating other companies for what they are doing to help. And that may take you to new platforms and audiences in an organic way. Customers want to know how you're helping. What problems are you helping solve? How are you giving back? Companies have to share their purpose and even more so, their higher purpose of why they exist. Enduring one stakeholder over another is a complete failure. I feel fortunate to have aligned with companies with whom I share values with. I believe that successes are shared successes, and that I have been able to be motivated by a higher purpose of what we all do for the greater good. In closing, I think it's going to be extreme efforts required until it's not. But it does not mean that companies I work with, that you work with, are not moving forward and being better. I see it happening. We are all living it, and we are all learning so much. New ways, new days. Being better for each other and our world. We are better conscious creators, and really, there is nothing better than that.